Yeah, let's hook it up in the car.
Done.
Car's been cleaned, so that's all
Car's
fine.
been cleaned,
No
so
judgment.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, here we are. Oh, it's nice, isn't it? It's nice. Nice little vibe.
You'd have thought as summer keeps going, we'd be more outside.
I know. As the British summer keeps going, we've actually gone indoors more.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Still, on the bright side, you got your coffee.
I have got my coffee. It's a nice coffee.
I noticed that you didn't take your coffee earlier.
No, we were in a club, weren't we, in Roehampton, and the machine didn't look up to my standards, so I waited till I was home and got a good coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, the coffee snob continues.
Coffee and weather snob. Busted. Yeah.
But you played a good match today?
Well, I mean, in this episode, let's discuss the match. So we played a training game this morning. We've done a little bit of training here and there. I did a physical assessment yesterday, and next week I'm going to Rome for working with Red Bull for the Premiere, and you're off to play a FIP in Belgium. Yeah. So we'll discuss that. We'll also discuss our monthly member challenge. Which is around the footwork, which is key, isn't it? And let's kick it off.
I like the way that you're professionalising your paddle now. You know, you're getting physical assessments.
Well, we talked about it, didn't we?
Yeah.
You made some comments about having a hot water bottle for my back and you know, needing an ice bath, and I've just turned it up.
Yeah, you've taken that adversity and you've turned it into motivation.
Yeah. Well, it was after that weekend where I was playing. We played a lot, and I was playing conservatively because I knew that my fitness wasn't where I'd like it to be, and I just don't want to do that anymore.
No, you want to go for it.
I want to go for it. Yeah. Now I've hit 40, and you know the vets is in sight. I want to really start ramping up.
Okay, so no more conservative paddle. I like that.
Yeah,
okay.
But I'll still play on the right.
Yeah.
So we had a good game this morning, didn't we? We both played on the right against each other, which is always fun. I mean, we obviously know each other so well. We know our games so well, but I enjoy playing against you. I know there are certain areas that I can't play. Like, you know, I can't give you these floating balls or to your backhand volley or even either of your volleys really. Or I also don't want to get into one of those volley battles with you. And for me, the key is against you is almost slowing it down really, and making you play low balls and making you know, giving lots of height. We were at NTC, so it was covered, but still there was good height. There's I think probably like 11, 12 meters at least around that, so there was space. You forget there's actually decent height in there. I think, and I think sometimes when you play in those like covered courts, you kind of feel like you can't play those high lobs, but actually when you look, you actually can. Yeah. I noticed that today. Most of our lobs were fast lobs because at least I felt like we were in this covered court, but actually you don't realise it's almost like a mental thing. You don't realise when you're in there. Whereas if you play indoors with high ceilings, it's almost you don't even think about it. But I always find with those covered outdoors that it affects you and you think, I play fast lobs only. In a way, it's funny. Recently, we've had a few clubs that we might work with have said, we're thinking of putting canopies in. And I'm always saying, look, just be careful because inside the canopy is dark, and obviously, like underneath the bottom of the canopy, it's bright. The sun is, and so in those conditions, it's very difficult to. When the ball is coming fast and you've got glare from the back and you can't see, but also when you hit with that extra height, it goes from the slightly brighter light into slightly dark, like it gets darker up there, and then it kind of drops down again. So it is quite effective. And so I suppose this is a bit of a warning for anyone building canopies or courts with canopy. Make sure that you consider the lighting and you consider the glare that comes in from the back. And for anyone that's ever played in one of those, they'll immediately go, oh yeah, God, that's annoying. Because it is annoying, right? And that for us today was the struggle. Yeah. They took away the protective
wind protector, isn't it?
Wind protector on the fence, and therefore you saw straight through the car park and the glare. And from one end, if someone hits a fast Bajada or Vibra, you just can't see the ball.
Yeah, and it affects the tactics of the play because I was playing with Nikhil, and we were literally saying to each other, well, at this end where because one end was better than the other, so at the end where you can't see, you almost, it's dangerous. You can't come up and block because you come up and literally you cannot see that ball until it's almost on your side of the net. It
just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it is dangerous and annoying to play in. And then you go down the other end and you can see not great. I mean, you still can't see great, but you at least can see the ball. And so the tactic changes again. But well, I'm glad that you're. As on our journey,
glad that you enjoyed it.
on our journey home, I asked you, physically how you were feeling. And
we should have started the podcast on the journey home because we had quite a good chat around like direction of play, didn't we? And playing on that right side and trying to pressurise the player, and you were trying to put pressure down your line from the right hand side, and which is not easy because you have a smaller channel. You were doing a good job of finding that channel, but it restricts you as a player. Sorry, you were going to go on and say something else about my physicality.
Yeah, no, I was just about to say we'll talk about that. I think we can summarise our chat in the car, but I think, I was just going to say, because you've actually had plantar fasciitis a little bit this week.
Last week I tried some new shoes and it plagued me. And actually I was going to say, what did you do? I watched our physio video.
Yeah.
And
and you're better.
And I'm better. Magic. No, but I did actually. I looked it up on because I knew we'd done it in one of our physio courses. I looked it up, plantar fasciitis, and in there's like 4 or 5 exercises, and I did them religiously actually for 3 or 4 days because I knew we were playing at the back end of this week. And I mean, not that we're going to fix everyone's plantar fasciitis in 3 days, but I definitely use those. Yeah, but you never know.
The spiky ball is still over there.
Yeah, the spiky ball under my desk is there. So, but no, I felt good on court really. I didn't, energy was good, movement was good, and because I've played in that GB training squad like last weekend, I actually felt in a little bit of rhythm. For me, that is quite regular. That's quite a regular competing, even if it is 1 or 2 days a week. I thought
I was giving you a foot rest today. If I'd known you were feeling good,
you'd have pressured me more.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. It was one of those games where, as the right-sided players, we were picking and choosing our lobs and our time to attack down the middle, and it was. We've filmed the game, so I think what we'll probably do is put it in our exclusive content. I might even do a match analysis of our game and do some commentary, and we'll put it in our exclusive content so our members can have a look. And I know they enjoy that. But I thought it was good. And you've not played a lot recently, so it's one of those you can't be too hard on yourself.
It's difficult. As some listeners might know, that I go to Spain when I can to train at Madrid, and when I train there, I feel so good just playing 5 days in a row for a week. If I go for obviously a few weeks, then that's more. But it just feels so good when you train, and when you come back and you haven't. I mean, I don't think I've played properly probably for now like 2 or 3 weeks.
It's difficult.
And it's so rusty when you come back.
On court, you're a bit of a perfectionist as well, and so it's I think in a way it's doubly difficult for you because you haven't trained, but that still is not an excuse. Like when you're on court, it is when you think objectively. But when you're on there, you think, why am I missing this, or why have I gone for this shot? And decisions or shots that you would not normally play, which you haven't played.
Yeah, so you're always a step slow. You're a step slow, and you're a bit off the mark. And I'm sure a lot of people listening can relate to this. Is you remember how you were playing when you last played, which probably was when you had a bit of form, and so you think, this is how I play, and then you forget that actually when it's been 3 weeks without really. I mean, did the Tenerife holiday and have been on court coaching, but it's very different. Very different.
I think golf is quite like that. When I don't play golf for ages, and then you go and you play and you have quite a good round, you think, that's my level now. Like that's my round, and then the next few rounds are atrocious. But it is similar in paddle. I think at every level, when you play and you have a good match, and it's difficult, even more difficult in paddle because it's doubles. Yeah. So you don't know how much effect that is. Not only physically with their game, but also mentally, like the support and things like that. So it can be one of those where you have your expectations are high, and if you don't meet them, it's a frustrating game.
Yeah. But should we do a quick match summary We won't do the whole summary, like the 45 minutes we just spent in the car, but should we do a quick summary of the game?
Yeah, we can do. I was playing with Nick Hatchett, who's on one of our, like on the GB squad, and against yourself and Nikhil. And I think, you know, our tactic really was to avoid what I would call confrontational volley to volleys. Both you and Nikhil are fast, and so, you know, we were trying to get it. I was trying to get Nick to lob down the line so I could get more involved in the game. And his plan was really to use his backhand to lob down that line. When he had a chance, he's quite good at turning the wrist and playing fast cross court. So lob down that line, either lob back to you or to deep lob cross to Nikhil so that he can use his backhand for that cross. And then whenever I could get involved, I was really trying to like stick it, you may have noticed, stick it up high into your corner, either over your left shoulder, so you have to hit a bit of a gancho, or I was trying to go a little bit deeper right, forcing you back into that right hand corner, and then I can come across and cover more of the middle. But I was focusing personally on just really changing the rhythm of the game. Like that's how I play anyway, and so, you know, I was doing a lot of like dinks down, like chiquitas down, angle to your feet, like soft down to Nikhil down the line. I was trying to catch him out a little bit down the line. But yeah, I mean, that's what we were focusing on from our side.
Yeah, I think there was quite a good matchup we were trying to get that matchup on the cross with Nikhil and Nick, and I think that when a lot of the time if I would receive the lob, I'd probably try and play that slow ball back down the line to Nick to get us back into that cross court battle. And if I can come across on a volley middle, then I would try and stick that volley, and obviously I'd keep you in the game and try and keep, almost as a variation, play to you, either play fast or play that slow overhead down the middle to try and draw you together and then open up the space again on Nick's side. But I didn't feel that there was much in it. I think it was a really close game, and again, I think it comes down to the big points. I think it's
concentration, isn't it? Concentration,
focus,
like forced or unforced errors, and a few points here or there. And I think you in each set you had one or two games where you just made a string of 3 or 4 errors, and that game's gone, and it's very difficult you can't get it back, you know. So it is difficult. And one thing I was thinking of this morning when we got down there, because we were like, right, we're going to do our podcast later, let's talk about the warm-up, because we warmed up together and we filmed it, and we did what we would normally do with the mobilization with the bands. We do a lot of activation exercises for glutes and shoulders and everything, and often the warm-up is overlooked. But I feel that we had an extended warm-up, and Nick and Nikhil turned up, you know, a few minutes before, and they just kind of did a couple of arm shrugs and then went in. I felt that you and I were kind of on it from the start, and I noticed the difference, the fact that we had spent half an hour warming up. Now, you don't need, like, for those watching or listening, you don't need half an hour, but to go 10 minutes before and do a series of exercises. And I mean, we've got videos for this, and our TRX course has a warm-up video.
Exclusive content, we have warm-up videos.
Yeah, we have warm-up videos, we have footwork videos, ladder videos, everything. So, but to go and do 10 minutes before is massive. Actually, that's what we're pushing in the footwork challenge this month, is, you know, to get those feet sharper and get them going. Do a little bit before you go on or off court. Makes a massive difference, I think.
I would have quite liked to have an even longer warm-up, the actual playing warm-up. And I think that's quite tricky, isn't it, that? Because if it's just you that wants to have a bit of a longer warm-up, like me personally, I hadn't hit a ball properly for about 3 weeks. And great to have a physical warm-up, but then I would have quite liked to have actually hit probably for about 10 minutes in that warm-up, as opposed to we just did a quick match warm-up and got straight in. And it's difficult, that, because if everyone else doesn't want to do it, I didn't bother mentioning it, but I felt like everyone else is probably playing quite a lot and in the groove and just wants to get started. So personally, I would have liked an even longer warm up if I could.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I feel we play so few matches, so I'm like, right, let's get on with the match. But really, to bring out the best of our level, we could have done a 10-minute drill. Really, we could have done 2 up, 2 back, and no lobs, no drop shots, for example, as a drill. Played, first to 7, then you do first to 7, and then started. And I think everyone would have been a bit sharper, played a little bit better. And this is something we're always recommending to our players, actually, is if you want to improve as a group and your match isn't massively important, then do a couple of these drills and do some training at the start before you go into the match. And that does make a big difference.
Yeah.
So I apologise that we didn't do that.
That's fine. I mean, I just wanted to come up with a few excuses.
Anything else?
No, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
No, but it was also good to see you and Nikhil playing together, because I know you're both going to Belgium next week for a FIP. So
that was a last minute FIP.
Yeah.
FIP tournament entry.
Why not? I think you just got to get matches under your belt, right? And the more matches you play, especially with a partner, the better. I think you're in good shape. You're playing well. I think it will be. You guys, do have some good games there.
Yeah, it's just about competing hard, isn't it? And the level. I feel comfortable with the level. I don't think we will play anyone that is going to be way above our level there. It's just going to be a bit like today. It's going to be a few points here and there. Compete hard and see what happens, and hopefully we'll have some good matches.
I think for you or I, or anyone coming from what I would call a strong competitive tennis background, as in, I mean, I played college and then tour, and you played tour, and it's like, we've both played thousands of what I would call important matches, and so when we go to these, we know that we can compete. Yeah, it's like that bit is never a worry, and that's like, when I go to Euros or Worlds or whenever it is, I know, I feel really comfortable that we can compete, and there's no fear about going to a third set and making it tight. I'm never worried about that. It's just almost the repetition of matches leading up to it. That's what it is, isn't it? And I say this when I come back from one of those championships, that by the end of the week I'm seeing the ball like a football, and it's going slowly, and it's not going any slower, and it's not any bigger, but you feel that way in that you know what's going to happen. Whereas if you're out of practice, it just feels like pinball, and it feels so fast. Yeah. No, I agree. I think, like you say, it is those. When you're used to competing hard and playing a lot of matches, you don't really have the nerves of when it gets to a big point or start of a match. Typical areas that a lot of players that perhaps don't have the experience worry about leading up to the game. Definitely don't have those worries. But I suppose it's about taking that experience and also using it with your partner a little bit. I know Nikhil, so I'll be playing with Nikhil, and he's got a lot of experience now playing paddle. I've probably got a lot more match experience than him generally, and so it's trying to combine those two aspects, isn't it? And try and use my strengths, his strengths, and and so much of the game is mental, isn't it? I mean, even more if you're playing outdoors, but just generally, it's just mental about you've got to get one more ball in than your opponents, and so it is just grit at the end of the day.
And you're going to be watching a lot of gritty players, aren't you, in Rome?
I'm going to be showing some real grit in the Red Bull studio.
Tell us what you're doing in Rome.
I'm really excited about this, actually. So this year I'll be working with Red Bull TV, and I am the in-studio expert to really break down the matches, get involved, explain what's going on, help the Red Bull TV audience or the Premiere audience learn more about the game and build an awareness for those that are new. And I'm excited. This has been arranged a couple of months ago, so this is the first one. I'm doing the majors, so I'll be doing Rome. Rome will be the first of those. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I haven't actually been to the Rome major yet. I've been to the Paris one and to various ones, but not the Rome. So I am looking forward to that.
You've done a lot of commentary before, haven't you? You've done quite a few events now, so that's.
Yeah, I think this role will probably be a bit of commentary and a bit of in studio, because I can't be in both places. So there'll be a commentator match side that's commentating the games, which comes under Premiere, and I think that we probably will go and help them a bit, and then we'll also be in the studio breaking down the matches, explaining what's happened. So, but I have done quite a few in Dubai. I did quite a few. It was funny. I remember back when I first started doing them. So I was organising the tournament. So I would organise a FIP tournament, and we would have it live streamed. And then I decided to do the commentary. And this is like 6 years ago, when no one English speaking really was watching. It was only the Swedes that were watching, and so it was almost at the beginning. It was like it almost didn't really matter what I said because no one was watching.
Yeah.
But since then, I've done quite a few of the FIBs. We did. I went and did that one in the World Padel Tour in Finland and a few others. So I'm a bit more experienced at it. But it's different. I'm not on court with a racket. So yeah, I'm a bit nervous, but looking forward to it.
When you watch matches, are you constantly looking at the set plays and the tactics, or what do you look for when you watch a paddle match? Obviously, you're doing the in studio expert analysis, so you have to have an element of that. But when you watch, what are the main areas?
That's an interesting question, because when I speak to players, I always recommend a certain way of watching. And I mean, when I'm going to do this in Rome, I'll be watching the whole game and I'll be watching the players, and it's more of a commentary on the players. But if I like to watch or I suggest to watch, I say, right, this game or these couple of games, just watch one player. Just watch the one player that you want to watch, that maybe you feel your game emulates, and see how they move and see everything that they do. And then I say, right, and now watch them as a pair, just them as a pair. And because people don't realise how much a pair moves off the ball.
Yeah.
And this is something that we are constantly trying to get our players, like on the holidays. I'm sure you did it in Tenerife. We've done it in our holidays. We do it in our clinics, where it's getting them to be active off the ball is key. And so when you're watching just the pair and not just following the ball on the court all the time, you really see how active they are and how attentive they are to what happens in the game and where they move. And so this is more of a recommendation, is that, like, try watching one person first, then watch a few games of just as a pair, and then I would go into the idea of set pieces and how are they winning their points? Are they going with a common theme? And so much of it is using the space. And this is where often we say the ladies, like women's paddle, is interesting because they don't have the kind of weapon of the smash that can almost finish from anywhere. So they really have to work almost a little bit harder to set up the point. Whereas the men's they come up with a lot more specialty shots, don't they? That you think, oh, there's no way. There's almost a "do not do this at home" tag to it, right? But the ladies, They play very percentage and strategic. So that's often what I recommend as well.
Yeah, going back to what you said about the Tenerife holiday, what's really interesting is, like you said, watching the pros and trying to learn as much as you can from them, but also videoing your own game. Because a lot of players might watch the pros and say, oh, well, that's what I'm doing. And then you actually do a video analysis and you watch yourself, and perhaps you aren't doing what you think. So it's not only good to watch the pros, isn't it, but actually video yourself and try and compare and contrast and actually see what you're doing on the court. That
is I think probably the most enlightening thing on our holiday. I mean, obviously, we do all the technical training, the tactical training, but when we do the match analysis for players and we break down their game and they see it, and then we go on court the next day, it's almost like you've waved
like a revelation, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? And it just sinks in overnight, and then the next day they come and they just have an understanding of what they're doing and what they should be doing, and it's really good. I mean, it's actually why we are always recommending people to send their videos in. So many members are members, and they love the courses and the roadmaps, and they don't even know that we have a video analysis feature that they can send in their shots or points, and we analyse it for them and give them feedback and suggest where they go on the roadmap. And it's a major tool. I use it like on court a lot as well as a coach. I'm always videoing the students and showing them, and it's it's absolutely key.
And this month is the footwork month for our members, which I know that's a topic that comes up a lot with members, and I'm really happy we're doing it this month because so many members say to us, how can they get faster? How can they be more balanced? How can they not be flat on their heels? And these are common pitfalls we see players make all the time, isn't it, with their footwork? Because really that's the foundation to almost every shot. If your footwork is slow, I know we've talked about sometimes when you look at a player's shot, if it could even start, all the mistake with that shot might start with their footwork. They're thinking about it's their swing and all the technicalities of it. It might be that also you're just slow to the ball. You're not on your toes. You're on your heels, and so it's a really interesting month for our players this month of footwork. Because I think we're going to see some big improvements.
Yeah, I think it slots into everything that we've said. Even like us playing this morning about trying to cover the court, moving off the ball, and like we just said there, the importance of how the pros move off the ball. And at the pro level, there's no difference in technique, and in physicality, not much difference either. So it's around mental and tactics. And as you go down, it's so important. A lot of players have decent technique. They've learned through video, through coaching, through friends, through however they've learned. And you say, right, that technique is nice, but then when you see it in a game, they don't move their feet, and therefore they can't execute the technique. And so it's foundational, really, the footwork. And so many people think that they are moving their feet, and then we watch the video and it's like, this is you now, what you're doing. They're like, no way. I say, see, there's no split step, there's no first step, there's no movement adjustment steps for the ball. They just end up reaching for the ball. And so it's really, really key. Yeah,
and I think if you're listening and you don't know what our member challenges are, every month we do a member challenge. We pick an aspect of the game, and in 30 days we help you transform that part of the game with challenges on court, with exclusive tutorials on our Facebook private community. So if you are interested in getting involved in this month's challenge, which is footwork, head to thepadelschool.com.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's one of those that we also put up previous challenges, so you can go through the previous challenges and go at your own pace as well. But it's a lot of fun, I think, with the community. Everyone focused on one area of the game. Our next stop in person is actually going to be we're going to Ilford on Saturday. There's an opening for Rocket Paddle, so there we're going to do an exhibition and then do some clinics, and that's going to be fun. I think we're going to have loads of people on court there. It's a lovely venue. I'm looking forward to that.
They've got these really unique turquoise.
Yeah, you might see them in some of our videos, actually.
They're really, really cool. And they just look so good on camera, don't they? And it's, I personally, whenever you play on courts, they're a little bit different with the colour. I love it. And
well, I think Rocket do a really good job. It's Swedish/Danish owners, and they've seen what's happened in Sweden, so they've come over and they've got a really good product of the club. They've made sure it's all nice, there's space, it feels professional, and we're always recommending to people that want to start a club, because we know that there's loads and loads of those, going and visiting one of these clubs and just seeing, and it can be Rocket in the UK, or you go to Sweden or Denmark or the UAE, or loads of countries now have great clubs. And so big recommendation, if you're thinking about building a club, please go and check out some of these clubs and get some inspiration and have an idea of what you would like yours to look like.
It goes back to the start of this podcast when we were talking about that canopy. Yeah, right? It's people putting up structures, putting up paddle courts without really having the knowledge of what best practice is. And the problem is, once it's up and the courts are up, it's really difficult to change.
Well, it's everything. It's like people throwing up, we see it here in the UK. We last went up to Manchester and the club built the courts the wrong direction. So at 3:00, you can't see from one end. And it's little things like that. And it's interesting. I mean, the clubs, we work now with a few different clubs, helping them to basically make sure it's set up properly and make sure, the spacing is good and how their programs would look and how we would train their coaches and all those kind of areas. So it's really, really important to get some paddle input.
Sandy, it's always a pleasure.
It is a pleasure
to be on the podcast. podcast couch with you once more. And
we should do this actually. Sorry to interrupt you there, Tom, but like straight after we've trained, like do the podcast then, either that on the car on the way back or straight after the game, because I mean we spent that 40-minute car journey just discussing the match, and I felt it was really interesting, and so that would be, I think, good for people to listen to.
Yeah, let's hook it up in the car.
Done.
Car's been cleaned, so that's all fine.
Clean,
no judgment.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much, Tom, and we'll have you on the next one. Let us know down in the comments if you'd like us to discuss anything in particular, whether it's technical, tactical, or paddle worldwide.
Yeah.